Hello, and welcome to Two Pews in a Pod. Join us as we explore faith in a modern world at Evangelical Lutheran Church in Frederick, Maryland. Now, here is your host, Pastor Paul Baglios.
I am Megan Wyatt.
And I'm Paul Baglios.
Welcome today to our fourth of 8 episodes in our 8-part series on faith and vocation. Today we are going to be talking about the vocation of finance.
And we are joined here, as in the previous episodes for this series, by another 2 members of the congregation, Joyce Draper to my right and Rob Tuggle to her right. Rob has been a treasurer of Evangelical Lutheran Church, and Joyce is currently the treasurer of Evangelical Lutheran Church. We are so glad that you have been able to make this time to be here with us for this conversation.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Why don't you all start, maybe Rob, start with introducing yourself and your professional background.
Yeah, so thanks for the intro. I'm Rob Tuggle. I am currently a market president for Truist Financial, so banking industry, and before that spent some time in private and public accounting a few years ago when I got out of college. That's my background.
And I'm Joyce Draper, and I'm currently a part owner in a local accounting firm here in Frederick, Draper and McGinley. I started out a long time ago, 1978 to be exact. CPAs are numbers people, at a firm in Baltimore, and then I was corporate controller for 14 years, and then I joined my brother, actually, give him a shout out, who started Draper McGinley in 1982. So that's what I've been up to the past several years.
Well, again, thank you both. I'm going to tell a little story to get us to begin. It occurred to me a few moments ago. Some while back, I had the call to serve as campus pastor to Thiel College. It is one of the Lutheran-related colleges. It's in northwestern Pennsylvania. And in that particular role, I was interested in everything going on in the life of the college and learned pretty quickly that the most popular choice of majors for all of our enrolled students was business administration. And as I would get to know our students and talk to them about what they were studying, I realized for all the education I had had over many years, I had never once had a single course in business. And I began to think of that as a deficit. And my interest in that opened an invitation. We had a wonderful program that funded college entrepreneurs if they could come up with a business plan and make it profitable within a year. There was grant money that supported that effort. And I learned so much in doing that. And since that, much more recently, I've read a book on the development of, the evolution and the history of money. What exactly is money, and how did the concept of money come into human societies? And I would say, realizing this may be both naive and idealistic, that anything concerned with wealth has to do with what really is, I know this can be abused, but it is the social blessing of wealth. And those who work in the vocation of finance, and that covers many types of jobs, but what they are helping to do is extend the blessing of wealth to an ever-widening pool of beneficiaries, let's say. That may be naive and idealistic, but I think that is part of what happens. Think of how many ways, Megan, you are, and I have been, we have all been perhaps in this room or listening and watching this podcast. If we've been students and ever received a scholarship. We have been the
Absolutely.
beneficiaries of wealth that we did not ourselves produce, but it's been the care, the stewardship, the management of finance and wealth that can extend the blessings. And I'll stop prattling on and just ask, does any of that sound remotely accurate, or do I need to learn a lot more?
Well, I can relate to dealing with the wealth portion of it because I have clients that are school teachers, fire people, to very, very wealthy entrepreneurs. So you're helping them not only manage wealth, but in tougher years, you're also shepherding them through the process of perhaps not to file bankruptcy. If there's a way of helping them from as a third party, not involved in the situation directly, how to help them manage the situation. And that's also a part of what I do. And I don't know, Rob, if from a banking standpoint, you probably have to turn people down for loans as opposed to just checking the box and saying, here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting. So we've got a lot of different lines of business. We have a wealth platform. We have a commercial community bank, wholesale banking, retail banking. Up until a few days ago, had a risk management or insurance business. So we see all forms of wealth and wealth creation. But I think at the root of the way I see what you're talking about, wealth is a word that's probably overly used. I'm sure some people, may be classified as wealthy, but maybe they don't feel wealthy, especially today in the economy we're in today. To me, it's more about financial literacy. And to me, what drives me and probably why I'm in the business, earlier Joyce talked about we're numbers people. If you're a CPA, you're a numbers person. But really what concerns me is the lack of financial literacy across the country. I think I was reading recently in a journal article that for 35 and under, the population in the U.S., for 35-year-olds and under, I think less than 60% of them owned one single share of stock, and that even includes in a 401k or
wow.
any type of ETF. And for the entire population, so that's everybody, it's less than 40%. So I think for me, we have all these different platforms. We certainly talk to people about commercial loans, but really what it gets down to is just helping people understand finances. And I think that's what drives me to the profession.
Right. When I give my tax clients the results of their income tax return, for a lot of them, it's really a teaching exercise because I rely on the documentation they give me. I can't make stuff up. I can't make the results any different than what their documentation will allow me to do. I give it my professional scrub. We have a very robust, very good software platform that we use. But part of the service that I provide is educating them on the outcome. Because a lot of people are under the misconception that, I have children. I'm sending them to college, so I automatically qualify for an education credit. No, you don't if you make over X amount of money. So it's a lot of what I do is explaining the outcome and trying to help give them pointers on how to improve or change their situation. And I have also found that wealth is it's ephemeral because the more money people tend to make, guess what? They tend to spend it in different ways, be it a nicer car, a nicer home. They're saving for their children's education. So it's a very personal environment.
And to clarify, when I use the word wealth, I don't necessarily mean great wealth.
Right.
I mean any assets.
Right. Yes.
Right.
And if you have any sort of a savings vehicle or an investment vehicle, and almost everyone has a bank account, and even if it is very small, if it is interest bearing, you are benefiting by the social sharing of wealth, of money. When we are reviewing finance reports for this congregation, and we hear of earnings of endowment funds. We are beneficiaries here in this congregation of countless human beings, countless organizations, companies, communities. And I think of this as, in some ways, sacred. It's part of God's care, not only for individuals, but for human societies. I had not heard, I don't think, before the term you just used, Rob, about financial literacy. I have heard other investment brokers talk about financial education. I have also experienced our sore need for it. I'm looking across at my colleague Megan. I've known a number of people who have come to the point that you are preparing for ordained ministry.
Right, yeah.
And they've been to college, they've been to seminary, and all along the way have been reliant upon and able to secure loans. And tragically, few of them realize they have amassed a debt they will never in their lifetime repay.
I mean, I can, as a millennial, say that, I was one of those 20-year-olds who, or might have been 19, who walked into an office when my scholarship level had changed between freshman and sophomore year and said, I need you to max it out because I can't afford it. I can't afford, what the bill's going to be next year. And without no further to do, they did some work on the computer, got a printout, and I'm still living with those loans. And I didn't think twice about it. I thought, oh, sure, I'll be able to afford it once I have a job. And you just don't think, and it goes back to that literacy of understanding it and having somebody sit with you and talk about, well, this is what you're going to make as a teacher. This is how much, loan you are taking out. And there wasn't that step in between to maybe help make better decisions.
Yeah. So you are, both of you, in your work, caring in profound ways for the well-being of other human beings.
Yes.
And I would think that would be true even if you're only looking at spreadsheets on behalf of other human beings. But trying to discern and advise good fiscal management, all of this has human benefit. And I wonder, again, I realize not involved in this work or the training and education both of you have had for it. I look at this through somewhat romanticized and perhaps naive lenses. But I wonder if you think about it, if you think about the human benefit that both of you are helping to cultivate through your work.
Well, I've often made the remark when clients will call and say, "I hate to interrupt you. I know you're really busy, especially in tax season." And I have my elevator speech ready. It's like, if I don't have clients, I don't have a job. So what's on your mind? Is it something we can solve in a 5-minute conversation, or do you need to make an appointment and come in and we'll take it from there? So I think it's really caring about the people that you have chosen to do business with. Yeah. And as a firm, we are experiencing right now the hiring and labor pool issues that a lot of people are experiencing, where there just aren't enough people out there that are going into accounting, becoming CPAs, and are available to work. So that has made us a little more selective in the type of clientele that we have. We've always been selective, because when I meet with a potential new client, a referral from someone, I say, let's meet. It's a meet and greet. It's at no cost. But I get a sense of who they are, how they operate, what they want me to do, and if I can do the work they need to have done, and if I'm willing to work with someone who may want me to walk on the wild side that I will not walk on. So
yeah.
Well, and that raises a point. Most of us have to trust the honesty of the people we entrust with our wealth. And again, that doesn't mean great wealth, whatever our assets may be, humble or expansive. And I would think a basic ethic of honesty relates to how you think about living as Christian people in the world?
Well, first of all, I'm with you, Joyce. I don't walk on the wild side.
It's good to hear.
Actually, I think that
Of our church treasurers to announce.
I think in one of our
Take heart, ELC. Our treasurers are not walking on the wild side.
I think in one of our council meetings, our then council president referred to me as a fiscal conservative, which I took as a compliment. So I've kept that close by. So,
Absolutely.
But
Especially with someone else's money.
Yeah.
right, absolutely. I mean,
Right,
so when you think about
absolutely,
this financial literacy, and you talk about, do you think through the impacts you have on others? You know, so I'm in banking, finance, right, and so the theory is that we work with a lot of different organizations. We work with very large healthcare systems. We work with municipalities. We work with individuals and small businesses. Sometimes I've had people say, well, you guys only do business with, a large organization or a large healthcare system. Well, first of all, the impact that we can have with a large healthcare system, which we do work with a lot of them. We have a big practice in healthcare, higher ed. It impacts everyone in the community. Everyone in the community goes to your local health system. They go to your hospital. They end up in an ER. Their child is sick or they're down on their luck. So you think about, and I have thought about that, is the financial help or assistance that we can give an organization like that kind of just has a ripple effect throughout the community. Sometimes isn't, but for me, while I enjoy those relationships, I also enjoy the smaller ones with those who have, and when I say less sophistication, I don't mean it in a demeaning way. Sure. Those who have less sophistication around their finances, or to Joyce's point, maybe they haven't been able to hire the staff to where you can help them around options that they have to help them grow their business financially healthy. And in reality, that takes a lot of stress and strain off individuals, which I do think is kind of, when you're talking about what are we called to in our faith, I believe, to me, that feels like that's exactly what we're called to do, is to lift others up. And if you can do that, we all know how important finances are in a relationship, whatever that relationship is, whether it's a partnership or a marriage or your child or whatever, your work. That's critically important. So being able to help people with that, we've seen it in the workforce, we've seen it in the home, is a good way to kind of help them with that financial literacy piece.
What I love about what you said when it comes to the ripples of money, and I immediately thought about, and I wish I had the number, but how often did Jesus preach about money? It is the number one, if I remember correctly, it's the number one thing really that we're talking about of money, because of so many things, right? But also those ripples of how many people are affected by money and by that. So I think that was really beautiful.
Tax collectors.
Sure, the tax collectors. Absolutely.
I tell people all the time, I do not work for the IRS.
Yes.
I will represent you in front of the IRS, but
Yes.
I am not the IRS.
Yeah.
I'm here to do the best for you with your facts and circumstances, and perhaps help you better your lot in life.
Right. Yep. And thank goodness for you all, because I can't memorize it all. I'm still learning. I know how to balance a checkbook. I did learn that.
That's
Yeah.
a start.
That's a lot of young folks don't even.
I'm not
keep
that young.
checkbooks. A register. They look online. All right, that's my balance. Oh no, it's not. If you if you have, it's not always the case.
Well, and what you were just saying, Megan, a lot of those things that we might read as sayings of Jesus, teachings of Jesus or elsewhere, money can get a bad rap and wealth can get a bad rap. But it's the false devotion to wealth that Scripture chastises and would correct. And again, I understand at least enough to know the way that wealth blesses society. That can be manipulated and abused, as any of us know, if we think about the 1%ers who hold, most of the world's wealth that can be hoarded and manipulated. But as you were saying with a business, and where we are in downtown Frederick is a really good example. It is the health and the thriving of so many local businesses that makes this neighborhood within the city of Frederick attractive, enjoyable, a draw for many who are nearby and much farther away.
And such a blessing to us.
Yes.
Being right planted in the middle of it.
Yes. And those dollars ripple.
Yes.
So this has been wonderful,
It really
and I
has.
hope it's been enjoyable for the two of you. Megan and I have loved
easy.
I know. These
doing
have been
these
fun.
episodes.
These have been really fun. Yeah.
And for
I'm not
those,
a media person, but I
you
did
were great.
great.
So Joyce Draper,
I stretched to learn.
she's available for autographs and book signings. You can see her often here at ELC. Same with Rob Tuggle. And we hope those of you who have viewed this episode or listened to this episode have found this to be instructive and inspiring. It has been for us to do this. Thank you for joining us. I'm Paul Baglios.
Joyce Draper.
Rob Tuggle.
And Megan Wyatt, thank you for joining us.
This has been Two Pews in a Pod, a podcast hosted by the lead pastor of Evangelical Lutheran Church in Frederick, Maryland. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.